You can't see yourself. I have to get higher. I blacked away.
It's always gonna work.
Yeah, I really got that.
Very hot.
Billy's ready.
You're turning 601, right?
Are you gonna be 601?
No, 4.
Oh, sorry. I don't know how I got confused. I'm sorry. I was confused. I thought 600 for some reason.
Papa, I got a little puppy.
Oh. What kind of puppy? What's his name?
Rubble.
Rubble? Is that from Paw Patrol?
No.
Oh, no.
Yes, it is. Are you lying?
Come on, man.
I'm not lying. That's a yucky word.
It is. It's not desirable now.
It's a yucky word. Love it. Jackson, are you ready to be interviewed?
So Coach Billy's gonna ask you some questions.
No, I'm not.
You're not ready?
No.
He's ready. You're born ready.
Well, we'll keep this short and sweet. Are you done for the day, Sarah?
Yes.
Like
Are you?
spitting out candy.
Okay.
What's that?
Done for the day?
Oh no, no.
Oh.
Like
Well-
spitting out people and eyes.
I remember we gotta
This
take
might be hard.
turns. We gotta
Remember,
make turns.
Coach
Take
Billy's
turns.
gonna talk, and then if he wants to ask you a question, you can answer. Okay?
John, you will. So you'll hit record.
Yep.
And then, so like I said, we'll just. Do we want to name this anything? The two of us trying to name something is always pretty horrible. So maybe we'll leave it to no name at all.
25.
25.
What'd you call it?
25.
We'll call it 25. But we'll just keep it short and sweet, and then we'll just direct it. I'll kind of ask you guys, and then you guys can answer however you feel like, whether it's both of you, whether it's one of you, whatever you guys feel comfortable with and want to do, and we'll make it happen.
Yeah, she's already thrilled.
No,
I know. Sarah, you are a trooper. Thanks for doing this for us.
I feel so bad. We had to reschedule. I literally had no idea I was involved in this. So.
It wasn't a big deal at all. I appreciate you just being willing to jump in front of a camera and do it with us. Jackson, you ready to roll?
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right, let's get it rolling. Hey, so we're here obviously with the Litton clan. Is that right? What's your name? Hold on. What's your name? Jackson, right?
Yeah.
So
Jackson,
here,
firefighter.
Jackson is a firefighter. He's really been working on his firefighter skills during this pandemic that we're in.
No, fire extinguisher.
Turns.
Oh, sorry. Been working on fire extinguisher skills during the pandemic. Have you been practicing?
Yeah. No, I am not.
You're not practicing. Well, we're going to make sure we do that once we get into the facility next.
Turns.
But so here's the goal, John, Sarah, and Jackson. Obviously, we're all been totally uprooted in routines, schedules. All we want to do is just kind of get the rundown from you guys on, okay, as you're going through this, how have you guys adjusted from a health standpoint, a movement standpoint, a nutrition standpoint? How is Jackson holding all you guys accountable to the things you got to do? And kind of just start from there. And I think we're all in this together. I think we're all struggling in a lot of ways. I think some of us have some habits that might be helpful. So all this is to kind of open dialogue for what we've been doing. So to start, how's the adjustment been?
Banana peels.
It's been a lot of banana peels.
That's been the adjustment right there, right?
Still adjusting. I think we're in second day of stay. What's it called? I can always call it stay at home.
Yeah.
Is that really what it's called? Shelter in place.
Yeah, it was like a shelter in place, stay at home in place.
Regardless, it's adjusting to a life where everyone is in one place and has their own agenda and trying to make it everyone else's agenda. At least trying to share the agenda, I think maybe more appropriate. But yeah, Jackson is definitely the caveat that
But
we're all still
But
trying to
look,
figure out best as possible while maintaining full-time jobs and, moving forward as progressively as we can.
Jackson, have you been sleeping in?
Have you been sleeping in?
No.
No.
No,
Not
not
a-
at all. So, I mean, you guys are both working a full-time job. So how have you navigated? Okay, you got Jackson that you got to take care of, right? There's work that's got to be done. What's been like the secret sauce for here's how we're going to do this? Has it been trial by fire or?
A little bit of trial by fire. I think Jackson. I think we try to like each night plan for the next day, just understand what are non-negotiables within each of our work schedules, and try to. It says internet connection is unstable.
It's good.
Okay. And try to just tag team throughout the day, but
Meaning like if you have a meeting, Sarah, or something that you have to do, it's like, hey,
Yeah.
John, I need you between this time to help me out.
yeah.
And help navigate all this.
Right. So like earlier in the week, I had a meeting from 1 to 4 that I needed to just have uninterrupted time to be speaking to a client. So John made sure that he could cover Jackson. So a lot of just pass it. It's like a game of hot potato, just pass it.
Oh, yeah.
Forth. And then, yeah. So I think it's just adjusting to a new normal.
Sure.
We're having, instead of just managing your own schedule separate away from the house, just kind of 3 schedules blending into one.
Have you guys stayed working out?
Yeah, sporadically.
It's just different. We were both very much early morning, her much earlier than I was, but definitely first thing of the day, high priority to get the workout done and then get moving on the remainder. But I'm kind of resorting to afternoon workouts. Sarah's still trying to maintain morning. But you get it where you can fit in, right?
Lots of
Would you say that you guys, and I think you alluded to this, Sarah, that you guys basically said, okay, here's the 1 to 3 things that I have to get done today, including a workout. So I want to work out today. I know I have this call today. I know I have this one other thing I got to get done today.
Yeah.
And that's kind of been like, if I can get those done, it's a successful day.
Yeah.
And then you do whatever you can.
100%. It's definitely adjusting to a new set of standards on what, from a productivity standpoint, on what's going to be
For
realistic,
sure.
right? I think I spent the first week of this working. I've been remote for 2 weeks now, while managing Jackson, like trying to be in my normative productivity mode, which is like very not realistic. So I think this week it's been more like what's achievable, and then kind of adjusting the standards.
Well, let's dive into that for a second, because I think that's a huge piece. If you said you started out, like I'm sure we all did, we were like, okay, here's what I was doing pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
And then you try to keep that pace up. What's the self-talk have to be of like not getting too hard on yourself when all that stuff doesn't get done like we've hoped to? I mean, was it just like, did you go through a phase where you're like, okay, I'm just not getting it done, and then you became super upset? Or was it like, were you pretty easy on yourself? Okay, I know this isn't going to be how I thought it was going to be. Like, I know I was like, why am I not getting this stuff done? But I just don't think it's realistic, right?
Yeah. I think for me, I was frustrated more than anything. And I was like, okay, I'm frustrated for a reason. Let's kind of like take stock of why I'm not as productive. Oh yeah. Like there's things beyond my control here that are augmenting my ability to operate normally. So let me go ahead and adjust, like get realistic with the situation. And I think it helps too, just to take it beyond yourself. Like we're all dealing in this way. So having a lot of empathy for other people. I mean, no one is unaffected from current state. So everyone's dealing with it in a different way, or it's manifesting in a different way. So I think relaxing the reins on myself, because everyone else is giving each other grace, as they should. So really just kind of being a little bit more relaxed with things. Even such things as screen time over here, you'll see.
I admit I'm actually watching Paw Patrol in the video.
I believe that too. How have things changed for you, John?
It's a complete 180 degrees. I mean, when we're in a personal service industry where our day is spent serving people in person, that's the very definition. But now it's, whether it's behind a camera or vast majority of the days on the computer or doing administrative work. For me, chasing down, banks and what the latest and the stimulus packages, and, just kind of creating a new role for myself so that the mission does continue to move forward. And I think that is still, I'm still trying to grasp, where I fit into that. I don't think I've settled into anything. I think the last couple of days, I think I've resorted to the fact that now all my work can be done after hours, where Sarah's is still kind of grooving in the 9 to 5. So, this morning I was up 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock working because that's AM, because, these guys are asleep, and that's when I could get work done. And so I can be able to help out during the day. So where Sarah's got phone calls from 9 to 5, and she's got meetings, and she's got to operate as normal in a traditional work day. So we have to be fluid.
Adaptability at its finest.
Adaptability.
Mhm.
What's now? You guys are notoriously good at keeping a good routine from a nutrition standpoint. How has that changed? And what do you feel like are some specific strategies you've had to adjust or alter to kind of keep moving forward with that?
That part's, I think, been probably the easiest, don't you think? I mean, when we go to the grocery store right now, like produce, the things that we would normally seek out from a weekly cooking perspective are pretty readily available, I'll say.
We've also got a wide palette. So I think where a lot of people are kind of stuck in, even, I wouldn't say a rut, but stuck in a habit or a routine of what they're eating. If that's not available for them, it may be a little bit more difficult to get creative. I think that's one of our strong suits and something we've developed as a skill set over the time, which is trying new things, experimenting with new stuff and new ingredients, and kind of creating a wider palette of what we can do with what little you may have.
Yeah. I mean, but I could see this being very much a significant change for some people that don't cook or aren't used to cooking. But I think for us, it's because we're home, we could sneak in various intervals throughout the day I can prepare my lunch. I don't have to pack it the night before. It's kind of a luxury in that regard. But being pregnant now and having pregnancy cravings when I want to like run out and grab whatever junk food that might be, that's a challenge. But that's a different question.
That's a whole different challenge in its own its own way, right? So what would you guys say what are maybe one or two strategies, either personally or together, that have been doing or have added in to kind of navigate this whole thing? Is there anything new or any new strategies that you're like, we've started doing this as a family, or I started doing this personally just to kind of be more adaptable?
Yeah, that's a good question. I know when things were like rapidly evolving, like, and they obviously still are, but when we were faced with like, we don't know if the gym's going to open its doors tomorrow or not, John and I decided to do like just weekly or nightly meetings between the two of him, like him and I, to talk about not only what was on the horizon the next day, but like catch up on the news, which we typically don't spend a lot of time there, but just really diving into like, for our personal lives, which are also very much impacted by our work lives, what is this meaning for us? And because so much information was coming in, it's not something we would normally do, like sit down and have a family meeting every night. But we felt like, at least for my sake, I felt like I needed to understand all the information inflow and what that meant for us at the end of every day. So
were there specific people or resources? Because I mean, let's be honest, there's like an influx of information. And you two being in the health industry, was there a couple specific people or outlets that you were going to so that you were able to filter appropriately?
For the news?
Whether that's the news, whether that's updates on all this, whether that's even from a movement perspective or overall just health perspective.
Yeah. I mean, from a news outlet standpoint, to be honest with you, I relied on other people, as bad as that sounds. I really have a disdain for consuming like traditional news. I can't do it. It seems like not just overly negative, but overly mundane, monotonous, and repetitive all at once. And once I hear it once, and especially if once I hear it once and it's negative, then it's like I can't just keep getting that banged into my vibe all day long, or for longer than just a few minutes. So she tends to do a better deep dive and kind of pick through than I do. So she's my filter in a lot of ways. Just reading to me is a little bit better than listening to the news, because I can kind of get the headlines and the bullet points, so the major news sources, New York Times, CNN, NPR, whatever's on Google search.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's hard because it's coming in every different direction. Even like, PetSmart is sending me notices about their response to COVID. So they're just like, inundated, you're getting inundated with information.
Yeah.
So it's easy. I can definitely feel like my personal pull to just be like paralyzed with it and be like, okay, this is too much. I do nothing like to know about it. I'm fortunate enough with the work I do, I'm connected to a chief medical officer that works within our organization that I connect with every week on a team call.
Okay. Yeah.
So she's my trusted resource as far as like what we're hearing around symptoms and testing protocols and just kind of the more clinical nature. And then I think by virtue of also the work I do, I get pushed a lot of resources in the way of resiliency, stress management through these times. So I feel like I have a pretty vetted pipeline of information coming in those two arteries. But when it comes to like what's happening with the legislature related to what's going on, I think John and I both are a little just trying to like figure it out as we go.
Sure. As a lot of us are, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I'll end with these last two. How have you guys, so we've talked about the movement side, we talked about the nutrition side. How have you managed from a stress management side of things? Are there specific things you've kept doing, added in, adjusted, altered, or is it kind of all staying the same?
I mean, I can tell you the things that I've increased drastically, which helps to the stress management, is really the connection with others, being able to be in a situation where we're taking advantage of the ability to connect with people more often, and people are maybe more readily available to connect, whether it's typically now face to face. I used to be a late, I guess I am a late adopter to the whole face video conference meeting sort of perspective, FaceTime. Never used to enjoy doing that. Now I crave it. Maybe it's because it's been taken away, that connection, a face-to-face connection has been taken away, but reconnecting with friends, family more often, being able to have that as a possibility, that's huge for me, and being able to keep my neutrality and the stress relief standpoint. Outside of that, it's taking a mindful requisite of what you can control and what you can't control. Are you doing the things that is necessary to being able to make sure that you're set up for tomorrow as best as possible? Some of that is setting yourself up or surrounding yourself with the right people who can help keep you accountable for that, in my world. And some of that is really making sure that you're kind of shifting that mindset into neutral and not overbearing on what you can't control, and more so focus on what you can. I think that daily reflection and what that neutrality actually is and what you can control is important, because you can, back to the news aspect, you can consume way too much, and it becomes, I believe, a negative constraint on you.
For me, it's just getting outside. I get outside more now, I feel like, than I do in a traditional work day, unless I like force myself to. So that's been a great stress relief. And I find myself feeling more stressed if I haven't gone outside 3 or 4 times a day and either walked or just played in the front yard with Jackson or whatever the case may be. I think we're fortunate enough the weather's cooperating with being outside, so that's been nice.
Absolutely. We've been pretty lucky with that. All right, last question here, and then we'll let you guys go. What do you feel like you've learned from these first 2 weeks of this kind of pandemic, where I feel like it's really hit strong? What do you feel like's been the one, maybe 2 things that you've taken away from how you've adjusted or adapted within the first 2 weeks? And then how's that going to affect what you do, knowing we're at a stay at home for like the next 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks now? Is that going to change anything you do for the next 3 weeks? So basically what you've learned from the first 2 weeks, is that going to change how you take on these next 3 weeks?
Yeah, for me, it's having a much more open mind, not just to, the possibilities of what can happen. I was in a little bit of denial at the very beginning, but, how bad can it get? Well, it probably can get really bad. But it's just an open mind to being able to be fluid and flexible and be adaptable. And for me, continuing that mindset of, how can I serve those around me? The circle of people that I can serve has probably been obviously shrunken, but maybe not, so obviously the family are people who I can first serve, but now how do I end up serving others through new formats and develop new skills and new communication abilities to continue to again push the movement and the mission a little bit more forward.
I feel the same way. I feel like it's like, okay, here are the circumstances. How do we make the absolute best of it? And whatever that might be, either professionally, personally, yard work. Just, how do we come out of this feeling like that was a productive use of time instead of just a time of worry and stress and anxiety? So just trying to find the silver linings and capitalize on those as we move through.
Yeah, I think sometimes having a mission towards something, whether it's yard work, whether it's something specific to work, just having something to work towards is such a huge piece of that. Otherwise you get idle. And then when you get idle, it's very easy to get sucked into the media and everything else that's surrounding this huge thing. Well, here's what I'll do. I mean, unless you guys got anything else you want to share about life within the pandemic, I think that's a good place to kind of to kick it off. Maybe we can catch up in the next later weeks and see if things have continued to go smoothly or if they've changed at all.
If we're ready to each other.
Yeah, I would say that as many things that have changed, I think it's important to take requisite of how much we can keep consistent, whether that's nutrition or fitness, to work hard to try to make sure that that's a daily habit and a priority and a piece of our puzzle. With so many things around us changing, whether it's environments or the scope of the economy or whatever the case may be, it's important that we still work in and leverage what works for us and what has been working for us. Maybe it's in a new and a different format, but certainly needs to still be present.
Yeah, no question. I think that's great. Appreciate you guys jumping on. Sarah, thank you.
Really.
Tell Jackson we said thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll see you guys soon.
All right.
Bye from Jackson.
See you, Jax.
Bye, guys. Bye.
Do you want me to send you the whole file, or do you want me